What happens when two music legends with decades of experience collide over artistic integrity and respect? What went down between Morris Day and Jennifer Hudson on her talk show was absolutely explosive. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The interview began innocently enough. Jennifer, ever the gracious host, welcomed Morris Day to her show. Dressed in his signature style, the legendary frontman of the time seemed relaxed. "I've been a fan since I was a little girl," Jennifer said, "listening to my parents play your music." "Well, thank you, Jennifer," Morris replied. "It's always a pleasure to be here with someone who appreciates real music. You know what I mean? The kind of music that actually means something." The comment had a slight edge to it. As the conversation continued, Morris spoke about how modern music lacks the soul and authenticity of the past. "When we made music, we put our whole selves into it," he said. "We didn't have computers doing half the work for us. We had to actually sing, actually play instruments, actually connect with people on a real level." Jennifer's expression shifted. "I think there's incredible talent in every generation, Morris. Artists today are doing amazing things with the tools available to them." "Tools?" Morris scoffed. "That's exactly the problem. Music isn't about tools. It's about talent. Raw, unfiltered talent. Something you either have or you don't." The tension in the studio was palpable. Jennifer tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground, but Morris wasn't ready to move on. "Do you really think some of these artists today, these reality show winners and contest participants, do you think they have what it takes to create lasting music?" The question hung in the air like a challenge, its implication clear given Jennifer's background on American Idol. "I think talent comes in many forms, Morris," Jennifer said, her professional composure holding firm. "And success requires hard work and dedication regardless of how someone gets their start." Morris leaned back with a knowing smile. "That's a diplomatic answer, but we both know the truth. There's a difference between manufactured success and organic artistry. Some people earn their place through years of grinding and perfecting their craft, while others get fast-tracked through television exposure." Jennifer's jaw tightened. "Morris, are you suggesting that artists who get their start on competition shows aren't legitimate?" "I'm not suggesting anything, Jennifer. I'm stating a fact. Real artists don't need a platform to be handed to them. They create their own platforms through pure talent and determination." Jennifer sat down her notes and looked directly at him. "So, you're saying that someone like me who won American Idol isn't a real artist?" "Your words, not mine," Morris shrugged. "But since you brought it up, let me ask you this. How many songs did you write before you got on that show? How many instruments could you play? How many years did you spend playing small clubs and fighting for every opportunity?" The tension was palpable as Jennifer's professional demeanor started to crack. "Morris, I think you're confusing opportunity with talent. Yes, I got my start on a competition show, but everything I've accomplished since then has been through my own hard work and dedication." "Has it though?" Morris pressed on, clearly enjoying the discomfort he was causing. "Or has it been through the machine that was already built around you? Record deals lined up, promotional campaigns ready to go, industry connections handed to you on a silver platter?" Jennifer's voice rose slightly. "That's incredibly disrespectful, Maurice. I've worked my tail off for everything I've achieved. I've won an Oscar, multiple Grammys, and I've earned every single one of those accolades through my talent and effort." Morris waved his hand dismissively. "Awards don't mean much when they're given out like participation trophies. Back in my day, you had to really prove yourself before anyone even considered giving you recognition." That comment clearly struck a nerve. Jennifer's eyes flashed with anger. "Participation trophies? Are you serious right now? You're sitting here questioning my legitimacy as an artist when I've proven myself time and time again in multiple fields." "Multiple fields," Morris repeated mockingly. "See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Real artists focus on perfecting their craft, not spreading themselves thin across movies, television, and whatever else will keep them in the spotlight." Jennifer stood up slightly in her chair. "So now you're criticizing me for being versatile, for growing as an artist and exploring different mediums." Morris remained seated, completely calm. "I'm not criticizing anything, Jennifer. I'm just pointing out the difference between someone who's dedicated their entire life to music and someone who treats it as one option among many." The studio was dead silent. Jennifer looked like she was fighting to maintain her composure, her hands gripping the armrests of her chair. "You know what, Morris? I've been nothing but respectful to you this entire interview, and you've done nothing but insult me and my career. I haven't insulted anyone, he countered. I've simply shared my perspective on what real artistry looks like versus what passes for artistry in today's manufactured entertainment industry. Jennifer's voice was shaking now. Your perspective is outdated, and frankly, it's bitter. You're sitting here trying to diminish my accomplishments because you feel threatened by artists who found success differently than you did. Morris finally showed some emotion, his eyebrows raising slightly. Threatened by a reality show contestant? I don't think so, sweetheart. The condescending sweetheart was the final straw. Jennifer's professional mask completely dropped. Don't you dare call me sweetheart, she snapped, her voice cutting through the studio like a blade. I am a professional. I am your host, and I am not some little girl you can patronize. Morris looked genuinely surprised by the intensity of her reaction, but instead of backing down, he doubled down. Whoa, calm down there. I was just being friendly. Friendly? Jennifer's laugh was sharp and humorless. You've spent the last 10 minutes questioning my legitimacy, dismissing my achievements, and now you want to call it friendly? That's not friendly, Maurice. That's disrespectful. Morris shifted in his seat, clearly not expecting this level of pushback. Look, I'm just being honest about the state of the music industry. If you can't handle an honest conversation about artistry, maybe you shouldn't be interviewing real musicians. Real musicians? Jennifer's voice went up an octave. Real musicians? Are you suggesting I'm not a real musician? I've sold millions of records. I've performed with some of the greatest artists of our time, and I've been recognized by every major music institution in this country. Morris waved his hand again, a dismissive gesture that was clearly getting under her skin. Selling records doesn't make you a musician, Jennifer. Having a good marketing team and being on the right television show at the right time, that's not the same as being an artist. Jennifer was fully standing now, her hands planted firmly on her desk. You know what, Morris? I've had enough of this. You came on my show. You accepted my invitation. And you're sitting here insulting me and everything I've worked for. What gives you the right? The right? Morris laughed. And it wasn't a pleasant sound. 40 years in this business gives me the right. Being part of a group that actually changed music gives me the right. Creating something original instead of covering other people's songs on national television gives me the right. That comment about covering songs was a direct hit. During her time on American Idol, Jennifer had primarily performed covers, and Morris knew exactly what he was doing by bringing it up. Jennifer's face flushed with anger. You want to talk about originality, Morris? Let's talk about it. How many of your biggest hits were actually written by Prince? How much of your success came from riding on his coattails and his creative genius? Now it was Morris's turn to look stunned. The mention of Prince clearly hit a nerve. For the first time, he looked genuinely angry. Excuse me? Prince and I were collaborators. We were partners in creating something revolutionary. Collaborators? Jennifer shot back. From what I remember, Prince wrote your songs, produced your albums, and basically created your entire image. So if we're talking about manufactured success and riding on someone else's talent, maybe you should look in the mirror. Morris stood up abruptly, his chair rolling backward. You don't know what you're talking about. Prince and I had a creative partnership that lasted decades. We built something together that influenced an entire generation of musicians. And I respect that, Jennifer said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. But don't you think it's a little hypocritical to sit here questioning my authenticity when your biggest claim to fame is being associated with someone else's genius? Morris's face was turning red now. That's completely different, and you know it, Morris argued. Prince and I were a team from the beginning. We grew up together. We developed our sound together. That's not the same as winning a singing contest and having a career handed to you. Jennifer laughed bitterly. Handed to me? Are you kidding me right now? Do you think winning American Idol was easy? Do you think the years of training, the performances, the competition against incredibly talented people was just handed to me? Compared to what real artists go through? Yeah, I do, Morris replied without hesitation. You sang songs that were already hits in front of judges who were looking for the next marketable personality. That's not artistry. That's auditioning. The insult was so direct and cutting that even the studio crew looked uncomfortable. Jennifer's producer was making frantic hand gestures from behind the cameras, trying to figure out how to salvage the situation. You know what, Morris? Jennifer said, her voice dangerously quiet. I invited you here to talk about your music, to give you a platform to celebrate your contributions. Instead, you've spent this entire time trying to tear me down and diminish my accomplishments. Morris crossed his arms. I'm not tearing anyone down. I'm just speaking truth about the difference between earned success and manufactured success. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should ask yourself why. Makes me uncomfortable? Jennifer's composure finally snapped completely. What makes me uncomfortable is having a guest come on my show and disrespect me in front of my audience. What makes me uncomfortable is someone who benefited from Prince's genius lecturing me about authenticity. Morris's face darkened. Don't you ever question my relationship with Prince. You have no idea what you're talking about, and you have no right to speak on something you weren't there for. And you have no right to question my journey or my talent, Jennifer fired back. The difference between us, Maurice, is that I've never needed to put other artists down to make myself feel better about my own success. Morris took a step closer to Jennifer's desk. The difference between us is that I earned my place in music history through decades of innovation and creativity, while you got famous by singing other people's songs on television. The studio audience was completely silent. Everyone sensed this had gone way beyond a typical interview disagreement. I cannot believe the level of disrespect you're showing me right now, Jennifer said slowly. I've accomplished things in my career that most artists can only dream of, and I've done it through hard work, dedication, and yes, talent. Real talent, Morris smirked. If you say so. Those 4 words, delivered with such casual condescension, were like a match lighting a fuse. Jennifer's eyes blazed with fury. If I say so? Jennifer repeated, her voice rising. If I say so, Maurice, let me tell you something about saying so. I say so because I've proven it over and over again. I've proven it on Broadway. I've proven it in movies. I've proven it on records, and I've proven it every single day of my career. Morris rolled his eyes. Here we go with the resume again. Yes, here we go with the resume, Jennifer shot back, her voice echoing through the studio. Because unlike some people, I don't have to live in the past or put other artists down to validate my worth. My resume speaks for itself. And if that bothers you, that's your problem, not mine. Morris laughed, but it was condescending and mean-spirited. Your resume was written by television producers and record executives who saw dollar signs. My resume was written by audiences who experienced something real. Something real? Jennifer was practically shouting now. Something real? Real is standing on that American Idol stage week after week, singing my heart out while millions of people judged every note. Real is taking that opportunity and turning it into a career that spans multiple industries. Real is winning an Oscar for my first movie role because I brought something authentic to that character. Morris shook his head dismissively. Anyone can act emotional and win an Oscar these days. The standards aren't what they used to be. That comment about her Oscar was the final blow. Jennifer's face went from angry to absolutely livid. Get out. Morris looked genuinely confused. What? I said. Get out, Jennifer repeated, pointing toward the exit. This interview is over. I will not sit here and let you disrespect me, my career, and my achievements any longer. Morris looked around the studio as if he couldn't believe what was happening. Are you serious right now? You're kicking me off your show because I'm telling the truth about the music industry. I'm kicking you off my show because you're being deliberately insulting and disrespectful, Jennifer replied, her voice steady, but filled with controlled rage. This was supposed to be an interview about your music, not an opportunity for you to attack me personally. Morris started gathering his things, but he wasn't done talking. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Young artists today can't handle any criticism or real conversation about the industry. Everything has to be sugar-coated and fake positive. Criticism. Jennifer's voice cracked with disbelief. You think what you've been doing is criticism? You've been personally attacking me from the moment you sat down. That's not criticism. That's just being cruel. Morris stood up, adjusting his jacket with an air of superiority. I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. And if you can't handle honesty about your career and how you got here, then maybe you shouldn't be in this business. Don't you dare tell me what business I should or shouldn't be in, Jennifer snapped. I've earned my place here through talent, hard work, and dedication. Something you would understand if you spent less time living in the past and more time recognizing the present. Morris headed toward the exit, but turned back one more time. The present is exactly the problem, Jennifer. The present is full of manufactured artists who think winning a contest makes them legitimate. The present has forgotten what real music sounds like. Jennifer had heard enough. Security, she called out, though Morris was already walking away on his own. Don't worry about security, Morris called over his shoulder. I'm leaving, but just remember, when all the television shows and marketing campaigns are over, real artistry is what lasts, and some of us will still be here when the manufactured stars fade away. With that, Morris Day walked off the set, leaving Jennifer standing behind her desk, visibly shaking with anger and frustration. The studio audience sat in stunned silence. Jennifer took a deep breath. Well, she said, her voice still trembling slightly. I guess that's one way to end an interview. She looked directly into the camera. I want to apologize to our audience for what just transpired. That was not the kind of conversation I intended to have, and it certainly wasn't the respectful dialogue that our guests and our viewers deserve. She paused, still processing what had happened. I've always believed that there's room in this industry for artists from all backgrounds with all different paths to success. What matters is the music, the art, and the connection we make with audiences. Not how we got our start, but what we do with our opportunities. She sat back down, her hands still slightly shaken. I hope that everyone watching understands that while we may disagree about the music industry, there's never a reason to be disrespectful or dismissive of someone else's journey or achievements. Music is supposed to bring people together, she continued, her voice softer now, but still firm. It's supposed to inspire and uplift and create connections between people. What just happened here is the opposite of everything music should represent. She looked directly into the camera one final time. Thank you all for watching, and I hope this serves as a reminder that we can disagree about industry practices and artistic approaches without tearing each other down. There's enough room in music for all of us.